Hello everyone, it's that time again. It's frying eggs time.
Cut! Can you not get it right? You're supposed to say, it's Baggy Hi-Fi time.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Take two.
Okay. It's that time again. It's Baggy Hi-Fi time.
Much better.
Greetings cats and kittens, welcome once again to Baggy Hi-Fi, this YouTube channel devoted to record collecting and the vinyl community in the UK. Quite a quick follow-up to my last video. This is Baggy Hi-Fi edition number 27, and this is a response to a thread which is going around the YouTube vinyl community once again, set by Richard McCook over in Northern Ireland, and it's a really simple idea. And one that seems to be attracting a lot of entries. And the idea behind this thread is that you spell out your channel name using the titles of albums that you like. So I'm going to spell out Baggy Hi-Fi using how many albums? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anyway, let's start. First album for the letter B is Bull of the Woods by Texan Psychedelic Heroes, the 13th Floor Elevators. This is their final studio album. They made 3 studio albums, and by this time the band were disintegrating. It's from 1968. Some people don't like this album, think it's their weakest, and others, I've read, think it's their best. Roky Erickson by this point was so spaced out that he wasn't the main songwriter and not even really the main singer, but Stacey Sutherland is the main songwriter on here and the main singer. It has a shimmering, ghostly feel to it, fuzzy, moody, weird, cosmic, zoned out. It's become a cult classic, really. Even I really like it, and even down to its sort of homemade, very strange cover with this Hessian background and this strange drawing of a bull on the back. It's a real cult classic. So the third studio album by the 13th Floor Elevators, Bull of the Woods, for the letter B. And now for the letter A, The Who, a quick one. This is their 1966 album, the follow-up to their debut, My Generation. And there's a massive leap forward on this album, away from their mod R&B roots. It includes the 9-minute sort of mini opera, a quick one while he's away, which is a foreshadowing of Tommy, the rock opera, which will come later. And Pete Townshend's songwriting is really already starting to mature on this one. I think one of the features I like about Pete Townshend, apart from his rocking tunes that he wrote, is his melancholia that comes into a lot of his songs. And even very early on this album, there's a great song, So Sad About Us, and it features Boris the Spider as well, John Entwistle's most famous song, bass player, and the sleeve art is by Alan Aldridge, British illustrator, very much of its time, sort of British airbrushed pop art. So that's the second album in this list of records that make up the channel name, and that's the letter A, a quick one by The Who. Now moving forward to the 70s now for the letter G. I haven't shown much prog lately, but here's a definite prog item. This is God Bluff by Van der Graaff Generator. The group, they didn't split up, but by 1975 Peter Hamill had made quite a few solo albums, and the solo album he made just before this was Nadir's Big Chance, which is an album which is often quoted as a foreshadowing or prophecy of the punk movement in the UK. And God Bluff, even though it's a prog album, is very pared down, very tight, not self-indulgent at all. 4 very structured songs. Peter Hamill plays clavinet throughout, which gives this album a distinctive sound. much Sturm und Drang in his singing style, which is something that alienates some people, you know, say they could never get into Van der Graaf Generator. Julian Cope is a big fan of this album and calls it their masterpiece. Certainly one of my favourite Van der Graaf albums, God Bluff, for the letter G. And we have another letter G now for Baggy. This is the first album by the Grateful Dead, self-titled Grateful Dead, from 1967. It's recorded just in 4 days and has this beautiful Stanley Mouse collage sleeve, very typical of the psychedelic art of the west coast of the USA at this time. I think what I like about this album, it's not the best album, but it does show their R&B and folk rock roots. There are some cover versions of you know, R&B standards like Good Morning Little Schoolgirl, but also Crystalline Psych is in the mix as well here, and 2 great songs which are very much psyche tunes, The Golden Road to Unlimited Devotion and Cream Puff War. So that's the first Grateful Dead album for the second letter G. Now next one is a bit of a guilty pleasure, and it's Year of the Cat by Al Stewart for the letter Y. I did have difficulty choosing an album that I have with the letter Y. This is certainly not my favourite Al Stewart album. Al Stewart, if you don't know much about him, began as a folkie in the 60s, playing on the same type of folk clubs as Bert Jansch and other heroes of the British folk scene of that time. And the thing about Al Stewart was that very influenced by Bob Dylan, but Bob Dylan sort of filtered through public school, English public school. Al Stewart, all of his albums, the lyrics are very literary, and he always sings in this very crisp, perfect enunciation. So Year of the Cat, I'm sure you'll know, there he is, there's Al on the back in his white suit. From 1976, it's his 7th studio album, and this, I think, was a massive hit both in the UK and the US. You still hear Year of the Cat if you listen to Radio 2, BBC Radio 2 here in the UK. Very often it's a standard sort of soft rock classic which is played often. But you know, every now and again I like to listen to this kind of thing. The sleeve is designed by Hypnosis. And there's the lyrics, very wordy lyrics by this very literary singer, folk singer turned sort of soft rock 70s star. That's the letter Y, Year of the Cat by Al Stewart. Now moving on to onto the hi-fi part of this channel name, and one of my favourite compilations of a 60s band, and I've shown this one before, How Does It Feel to Feel by The Creation, and this is an excellent compilation of this mod pop freak beat psych band who existed for a short time just between 1964 and 1966. Eddie Phillips was their guitarist, and he was famous not only for his really crunchy, fuzzed out style, but also for playing his guitar with a violin bow at times, something that Jimmy Page would nick, I think, and he did that in Led Zeppelin, did he not? Pete Townsend was so impressed with The Creation that he asked Eddie Phillips to join The Who as their second guitarist, but Eddie Phillips turned them down, hoping for great success with The Creation. And although they had a couple of hits with Biff Bang Pow and Painter Man, they were never really very successful. A travesty of justice, but there you go. It happens to many bands, particular bands in the 60s. Great compilation on the Edsel label, How Does It Feel to Feel by The Creation. Now this next record I've also shown quite recently. It's one of my favourite bands. I don't think it's their best album, but there is some pop brilliance on this album, and the letter I, so it's Instant Replay by the Monkees from 1969. It was a difficult time for the Monkees at this stage because Peter Tork had left the band, their TV show had been cancelled. But some really good performances on here and some good songs on this album, including Shorty Blackwell by Mickey Dolenz and a lovely song, While I Cry, sung by Mike Nesmith. So it's a very strong album. Instant Replay by the Monkees. And did you know that on the song You and I, Neil Young plays guitar? Now moving forward in time now to 1995. I think I mentioned recently that I'm a belated fan of shoegaze. I was aware of sort of 90s shoegaze music at that time, but I was seemed to be listening to lots of other stuff at that time. But this was a band I did like at the time, and they're not strictly a shoegaze band, but it's Flying Saucer Attack, a band founded by David Pearce in the early 90s. I think we're just kind of recognising now how important this band were. This is the second album by the band, and it's called Further, for the letter F. Very moody, sort of space rock, sheets of reverb, guitar. There's quite a lot of acoustic guitar on here, so it's almost like acoustic shoegaze. There's some finger-picked acoustic guitar, and then you get these squalls of white noise. Very, very powerful music. The album before this, which I've just recently bought a reissue of, is just as good. It's self-titled, Flying Saucer Attack. I could have picked that for the letter F, but yeah, very evocative of the English landscape. The cover art sort of suggests that. I think they were also quite influenced by Popol Vuh, the krautrock combo, and I think there's a song on here which is actually called Popol Vuh. There's a reissue on Domino Records. Flying Saucer Attack with Further from 1995. And now the final choice, which spells out this channel name, Baggy Hi-Fi, and again it's a prog item from the very early 70s. In fact, it's from 1970, and it's for the letter I, In the Wake of Poseidon by, of course, King Crimson. Their second album, still very much in the vein of their first album, the masterpiece, In the Court of the Crimson King. Greg Lake was still the singer here, but I think he'd announced that he was leaving. He does sing on some of the tracks, but Gordon Haskell sings on the song Cadence and Cascade. It's very much in the vein of that first album, at times serene, and other times menacing in the only way that Robert Fripp can be, with his swathes of mellotron and tricky guitar playing, and lots of attack on here, but also some quieter moments. So the band, after they lost Greg Lake at the beginning of this album, were searching around for a singer, and they considered Elton John as a replacement for Greg Lake at one point for their next album after this, but that didn't happen, of course, and maybe that was for the best. But yeah, another one of my favourite King Crimson albums, In the Wake of Poseidon, and that ends out spelling out those important words, Baggy Hi-Fi. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your comments and subscriptions. I hope you enjoyed this one as my contribution to this thread. I hope you all have a good week. The weather isn't so good at the moment. It's very windy here, and the sun spell that we had has disappeared. So until the next video, take care and bye for now.